Good morning, my name is Dan Dyce. I'm a CPCU, an RPA, and today I'm going to present part of a keynote speech that I do called How to Turbocharge Your Career on Your Lunch Hour. And the concept is, the premise is that we spend about 10% of every day at lunch. If you work a 8-hour day and take a 1-hour lunch, that's 9 hours. So 1/9 of your day is spent at lunch. And over a 40-year career, if you're spending about 10% of your time at lunch, then you've spent the equivalent of 4 years at lunch. So what could you do with just a few of those lunch hours that would actually make a difference and help you along in your career? And what I'm going to do is suggest a few meaningful activities that you could do on your lunch hour that will make a difference. And everything I'm presenting today, I've actually done in my career. I am now retired, but over my 45-year career, these are things that I actually did. Now, first, we have to all agree that working through lunch is not one of these meaningful activities. So if you're doing that, knock it off. Dale Carroll, who's a New York-based career executive, said that being tied to your desk only expands your waistline and does not make a dent in the pile of work that's awaiting you. So don't do that. I'm also not recommending that you not eat lunch, okay? You must eat lunch. You need a healthy lunch, and this will give you energy for the rest of the day. Usually we drag right after lunchtime, and so eat a high-energy, healthy lunch. What I did for many years is I would actually bring my lunch and eat it rather quickly and then get on to whatever fun activity I had planned for my lunch hour. Okay, now one of the really important management skills is public speaking, meeting facilitation, and if you're going to be upwardly mobile, this is an area that you could work on improving in. The best way to do it, and the way I did it, is through Toastmasters. I was involved in a Toastmasters lunch club in downtown Los Angeles and had a great time. Met a whole bunch of people that were outside my industry, and the way Toastmasters work is you sign up, and the company's going to pay the money to help you sign up. Then you attend these luncheon meetings, and the company will pay for these lunches. And a high priority with me in my career was free lunches. So the company pays for these lunches. You show up at lunches, and initially you start off with this booklet that has 10 speeches in it. And the speeches are like icebreaker, persuasive, extemporaneous, all these different kinds of speeches. And once you accomplish these 10 speeches, you get a little pin that says you're a competent Toastmaster. They also have contests. And so one day I showed up at my lunch meeting, and the club president runs up to me and goes, "Dan, do you know any funny stories?" I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, "Well, we are having a humorous speech contest today, and 3 people had signed up to give a humorous speech, but only 2 of them showed up. One person can't make it today, so could you just tell a funny story and be part of our humorous speech contest?" I go, "Well, as it so happens, last weekend I was camping with my family, and there was this park ranger told this hilarious story about a gold miner in South America who had a talking horse and ran into some cannibals. So I could tell that story." He goes, "Okay, fine, you're on." So now I'm part of this humorous speech contest, and the first 2 people give their talks, and I give my retelling of this park ranger story. The club votes, and I win. So now the way it works is when you win, then you go to the next level, and the next level, next level. And if you win 7 levels, you're in Washington, D.C. competing for the National Humorous Speech Contest. Well, now I've won 5 times with this stupid story that I stole from this park ranger. And I'm in downtown Los Angeles at a big hotel, 500 people in the audience, and they take the 5 humorous speech contestants from the whole region into a little green room. They sit us down and hand us a piece of paper. I look at the piece of paper, and it says, "This is an original speech that you did not steal from anybody, that you made up yourself, so help me God." I'm going, "Oh, I never signed up for this contest. I didn't know what the rules were." So I ran out to the audience and got my club president, who was there supporting me, and I said, you know what, they want me to sign this. I can't sign this. This is not original speech. Oh, Dan, you must have changed it a little bit. Go ahead and sign it. Well, if I'd have won that night, I'd gone to San Jose the next time, and then after San Jose, I'd have been in Washington, D.C. I did not win. I took second place that night, and the lady who won told a hilarious story about dieting. So it was legit, but that's the kind of thing you can run into, and just think about what great experience that is that can then get applied to your career. It's said that 11% of you are afraid of heights, 12% of you are afraid of the dark, 13% of you are afraid of snakes and spiders, and 20% of you, 1 in 5, are afraid of public speaking. So if you have a stage fright, this is a good way to jump in there and improve your speaking skills, which will definitely help you in your career. Now, my Toastmasters payoffs were I got a whole bunch of free lunches. I'm here speaking to you today. I networked with a bunch of people outside of my company, which is really important. And now that I'm retired, I actually make extra income doing public speaking. All right, big idea number 2. How about finishing your college degree or earning a designation like a CPCU ARM? You can study on your lunch hour and do this. Now, when I was early in my career, 3 years into it, I was an insurance dummy, okay? I had no idea about insurance, but I knew a lot about my little unit, and I was a good supervisor. And I met an agent one day, and he was headed to a CPCU meeting. I said, what's this? And he explained to me that the company will pay for you to take this training, and if you complete these sessions and pass the national exams, they'll send you to the annual conference. And what he said was, I'm working towards going to Hawaii in 5 years. When I get my designation, they're going to send me to Hawaii. You know, 5 years, I could do that. I went home that night, told my wife, hey, baby, I'm taking you to Hawaii in 5 years. And I did. And so I completed and passed my exams, took her to Hawaii. Now, if you do get a CPCU, then you need to get involved in the local chapter. The chapters are set up for luncheon meetings, okay? Company pays for these lunches, free lunches. That's big on my lunch agenda. And they have a board of directors at those chapters, and you need to get involved. Don't just attend the meetings, get involved. Now, in my case, the chapter I was involved with had 5 chairs, secretary, treasurer, first vice president, second vice president, president, and that club would send their president to the national convention. So I looked on the chart, and guess what? 5 years from that date, the convention was in Hawaii, and whoever was president 5 years from that date was going to Hawaii. Well, I quickly talked to the people at the before meeting and said, why don't you nominate me for this so I can get, and nobody ever wants to run for these positions. And so I got on the board, and sure enough, 5 years later, I went to Hawaii. I went home that night, actually told my wife, hey baby, I'm taking you to Hawaii in 5 years. And we did, and the chapter paid for it. Little interesting hiccup along the way. Every year you move up one step, right? And at the end of 5 years, I end up in Hawaii. Well, somebody ahead of me got transferred and left the area. So everybody had to move up one chair. Had I moved up one chair, I'd have gone to San Francisco. I was in Sacramento at the time. I'm not going to go to San Francisco. So I actually refused to move, and somebody had to jump over me. And the guy that jumped over me went to San Francisco, and I did go to Hawaii. Now, would a healthier lifestyle affect your ability to perform well at work? Towards the last probably 10 years of my career, I made it a point to do a lot of walking on my lunch hour. And what I would do is I'd bring my lunch to work, I'd eat my lunch in the lunchroom, 10, 15 minutes, and then I would always pack an apple. I'd take my apple and I'd go out for a walk. And it got to be a joke around the office because people would see me at the elevator or in the hallways with this apple, and they would say, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking my apple for a walk. And so every day I took my apple for a walk. One day I was out walking, and I hadn't started eating my apple yet, and there was this homeless lady and a little kid sitting there on the sidewalk. And as I was walking by, the lady asked me for some money. I said, I don't have any money, but I do have this apple. And the little kid jumped up and grabbed the apple. I thought, wow, this kid hasn't even eaten. Here's mom trying to get money for who knows what. I thought, you know what? I'm going to start bringing 2 apples to work. One for me to eat and one to give away. Well, that lasted about a month. I couldn't give that apple away. You want this apple? No, I want money, So I stopped bringing 2 apples to work, and I just stuck with bringing my 1 apple. But I did do a lot of taking my apple for a walk. And in fact, when I retired, they actually made a big deal out of him taking his apple for a walk. Let me back up a second to my CPCU payoffs. So I worked for 3 major companies in my career. And my first one was Allstate, and they wanted to promote me to Chicago. And I'm a California boy. I didn't want to go to Chicago. But it was somebody through that CPCU connection that said, hey, I know of another company that could use a guy like you. So that's how I got that job. I was with Cigna then for 19 years, and they closed the Sacramento office. And there I was, all grown up out of work. And again, it was a CPCU connection, a networking that I had done. The gentleman said, oh, I know the California Earthquake Authority could use a guy like you. I was responsible for property claims, 7 western states. They needed a claim manager who had been through the Northridge earthquake. So I ended up getting that job that way. And then several times throughout my career, when I was up for promotions, I was actually up against other CPCUs. So that became a leveler. And once I got into the CEA, I realized that my boss was a CPCU and my peer manager was a CPCU. So that leveled those playing fields. So it was a huge payoff for me in my career. So networking is very important. I just recommend that in your office or your circle of friends, ask somebody to go to lunch. Hey, would you like to go to lunch with me? I'd just love to get to know more about what you do. People love to talk about themselves, so invite them to lunch. And if you do go to lunch with somebody, you listen, let them talk. Now, if you're the kind of person that wants to talk, then don't take them to lunch because they're going to hate you, okay? But if you ask somebody to go to lunch and let them talk, they're going to think you're the greatest person in the world, and you're going to learn a whole bunch. And they may be in a meeting that you don't even know about. They're going, well, that Dan Dyce is just a really great guy. So I have many more ideas that you could do on your lunch hour, but there's just no way that we have time for them today. Successful people read. Find out what your boss is reading. You walk by your boss's desk, you see a book on his desk, take a peek at it. What are they reading? You get that book, read that on your lunch hour. Then you can have a meaningful conversation. You're going to learn something, plus he's going to be impressed, or she's going to be impressed that you're doing that. Life enrichment activities. There were some things I did at my lunch hour that were just for fun, and that's good mental health for your career advancement. I, at one point, worked next to a museum a couple blocks away that the first Tuesday of every month was a free museum day. I would go there on my lunch hour and take the docent guided tour. There was a church a couple blocks from where I worked that had free concerts every Wednesday. I would go to those free concerts, and it was a lunch kind of thing, and you could bring your lunch. So I'd go into this church, sit with my lunch, and listen to world music. Really, just fun. There was a farmer's market not too far from where I worked, so on certain days I'd go to the farmer's market at lunchtime and buy more apples so I could take them for walks. I worked close at one time to the Capitol building, and they had, during the whole month of December, had Christmas music at lunch hour. Every day I'd go over there at lunch and listen to Christmas music. So the bottom line is that your lunch hour belongs to you. You can use it any way you want. You can work through lunch if you want, but I do not recommend that. And no one cares more about you than you, so why not take advantage of that time and purposefully do something meaningful that could have a good long-term impact on your career. So, in conclusion, I would love to go to lunch with you and learn what you do. So how about it? Let's do lunch.